past Thursday night to tonight, which was Sunday night football. And if you didn't hear, this was the Byemaggedon week where 6 teams were all out on bye. So not as large of a slate means that we saw slightly less action. But without further ado, let us get into Thursday night football, where we saw the Los Angeles Chargers take down the Minnesota Vikings 37-10. Now, I'm just going to preface this video with the fact that of all the games between Thursday night and Sunday night, there was only one that was a one-score game. All the rest of them, even if they were close, at some point they did end up with at least a 2-score possession difference by the end of the game. So you could say almost every game was a blowout. Not the best slate of games that we've had so far. Probably one of the less fun weeks, just with all the buys and all the one-sided games. And Thursday night, if you're a Chargers fan, I'm sure it was a lot of fun. If you're a Vikings fan, this was a tough watch. I mean, you already know that J.J. McCarthy is out with injury, and then you see Carson Wentz out there. He is trying, but the man is in utter amounts of pain. You can tell he is grimacing and wincing after every hit. He got necked so many times. How many was it? 5 sacks. And with every time that he hit the ground, you could tell his arm was just in a lot of pain. So, yeah, not a fun watch. In this game, Carson Wentz, he ends up going 15 of 27 for 144 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. In the rushing game, there wasn't any really for the Minnesota Vikings. You did have Aaron Jones being activated off of injured reserve. You also still have Jordan Mason in the backfield, but it was, what is his name? Xavier Scott. Yeah, he ends up being the leading rusher for this Vikings team with 2 carries for 16 yards. That's how bad it was in the ground game for the Vikes. 5 carries for 15 for Aaron Jones in his return, and Jordan Mason had a measly 4 carries for 3 yards, not even a yard a carry. Quite horrible by both of the actual lead backs. And then in the receiving game, we got to see Justin Jefferson haul in 7 catches for 74 yards. Now, for the LA Chargers, this was one of their best games of the season. You know, anytime you beat an opponent by 27 points, you gotta be pretty happy with the way that things turned out. Justin Herbert in this game, he goes 18 for 25 for 3 touchdowns and an interception. Big bounce back game for him after the loss to the Colts, where he threw a red zone pick and just didn't look all that great. He did get some of his weapons back. He got Quentin Johnston back in this game, though QJ didn't actually post any stats. Rushing the ball, we saw Kamani Vidal take 23 carries and turn it into 117 yards and a touchdown. He was highly productive on the day. He becomes the first Chargers running back since, who was it, J.K. Dobbins last year to have back-to-back 100-yard games. So, not Najee Harris, not Marion Hampton, but Kamani Vidal, the first Chargers running back to do that so far this year. And finally, in the receiving game, we saw Ladd McConkey put together another nice game. 6 catches for 88 yards and a score. Yeah, it was just not that nice of a game. Both teams having difficulties in the penalty area. 8 penalties apiece. Third down, it was a struggle for the Vikings. They went 3 of 11, while the Chargers went 9 of 13, completing well over 50%. And yeah, you know, 1 turnover apiece for both teams, but the sacks were definitely a big difference in the run game. So the Vikings, they have announced that, well, I don't know if they formally announced it, but there are rumors that J.J. McCarthy will be coming back into the starting position for them and playing in their matchup next week against the Lions. They're currently at 3-4. They sit at the bottom of this NFC North, and their season isn't over by but they're going to need a significantly better J.J. McCarthy than the one that we last saw if they want any chance of getting back into the playoffs this year. As for the Chargers, scary loss last week, but now big get-right win. You're at 5-3. You're about even with the Chiefs, depending on how things go tomorrow. Still a bit back in terms of getting the lead for this division, but overall, pretty nice. And as they continue to get more healthy, as they get Marion Hampton back, Joe Alt back, they should look to build on the success they found early in this season. So, after that, we get to move on into our Sunday slate. And in our Sunday slate, we didn't have any European games, no early Sunday morning games. So we get to jump right into the 10 a.m. slate, in which we saw our only one possession game of the day, and this would ironically be the New York Jets versus the Cincinnati Bengals, two, not exactly bottom tier. The Bengals have been alright, but the only winless team in the league, and the New York Jets finally finding their first win. They moved to 1-7 after defeating the Bengals 39-38, and it was really quite a surprise that they were able to catch up in this game. I mean, the off-season, or not the off-season, off week behind the scenes after last week's game, we saw Justin Fields get benched in the second half. Justin Fields started, had to leave to get evaluated for a concussion, came back into the game, and eventually got benched. And during the week, they announced that they would be benching Justin Fields, rolling out with Tyrod Taylor, only for Tyrod Taylor to get sidelined with a bone bruise. And so they had to unbench Justin Fields to start the game. Crazy sequence of events. We haven't even started the game yet. And yeah, once this game started, Bengals were cooking with Joe Flacco, field goal on their opening possession. The Jets, I don't know what they were thinking. Opening possession, you know who you are. You know that you have no wins. They get the ball. They get to 4th and 1. They get to 4th and 1 at their own 37-yard line. You haven't won a game so far this year. And they decide, we're going to go for it. Idiotic decision, in my opinion. Play for the field positioning. You don't have a good offense. What are you doing? And also the play call that they ran. My goodness. Not only did they go for it, but they had Justin Fields in shotgun, and he pitches it back to Breece Hall. And so this is it's not even a up the middle QB sneak. You have one of the best running quarterbacks in the league. You have a pretty talented back in Breece Hall. Why are you running a pitch 4 yards behind the line of scrimmage? It made no sense. So they got tackled for the loss and didn't get it, obviously. This led to a Bengals touchdown caught by, not caught, it was Joe Flacco himself. He took it up the middle, QB sneak, 40-year-old with a rushing touchdown. So we saw the Bengals go up 10-0 in the first quarter. In the second quarter, the Jets finally got some points on the board, make it the 3-10 game. And then the Bengals, just 3 plays, they go 69 yards. We see a 44-yard touchdown strike between Joe Flacco and D. Higgins. They go up 17-3. After that, the Jets have the opportunity to respond. They craft one of their better drives of the season, 9 plays, 78 yards. End up punching it in with a 15-yard touchdown pass from Fields to Johnson. And it is now anyone's game, 10-17. The Jets are trailing, but their defense does not do anything to stop the Bengals on the next possession. 10 plays, 65 yards, 4 minutes off the board, and we see another touchdown pass, this time from Joe Flacco to Chase Brown on a running catch. So, Bengals up 24-10. The Jets, surprisingly, and I mean we've seen this the last 2 weeks where they're in field goal position, or close to field goal position, and they just don't get it. They don't get into the yardage. They don't call the timeout, and they just give up. different story. Aaron Glenn, a little bit better at coaching this week, a little bit better execution on Justin Fields' end with the sideline catches and throws. And so they actually managed to get the field goal, and now they have the chance to go to doing 2-for-1. And so, yeah, they're trailing 13-24. Jets get the ball to start the second half, and they punt it. So now, Bengals, they can capitalize, but they go 3 and out. And the Jets, on their second possession of the second half, they score a field goal. So now it is an 8-point game. They're losing 16-24. And the Bengals are ready to blow this thing open. They score another touchdown, this time 32-yard touchdown run by Samaje Perine. It was a pretty impressive run. He broke through a couple tackles. I think even had a spin move. And so the Jets, starting the fourth quarter, find themselves down in a pretty big hole. This is a 15-point hole. Yeah. They've already let up 31 points. You don't know how much worse this is going to get for them. But they stand tall. The offense goes out there and they execute 6 plays, 66 yards. We see a 5-yard touchdown run from Brees Hall to cap it off. And they go for a 2-point conversion. Justin Fields takes it up the right, and they succeed. So they turn that 15-point deficit into just a 7-point game. They're now losing 24-31. The Bengals at this point know that it's a 1-score game. They need to go out and get more points, and they do just that. 7 plays, 73 yards. We see a 1-yard touchdown run from Chase Brown. Once again, his second score of the day. And extra point is good. So now the Bengals are up 38-24, and there's 10 minutes left in the game. 2-touchdown lead. You'd have to imagine that they are safe. But the Jets turning it up when they need to turn it up. 5 plays, 60 yards in just 2.5 minutes, thanks to a 24-yard pass to Jay Ruckert, and then a 27-yard touchdown run by Brees Hall. And so, Jets going for 2 once again at this time. They get it again, and now it's a 6-point game. I mean, gutsy call. You're down 14. You could have played for the tie, I guess. And I feel like we started to see teams do this more when they score. They're down 14 and they score a touchdown. They make the decision to go for the 2-point attempt. That way it's not a decision they have to make later on. So we see the Jets employ the same strategy. Go for 2. When they get the first of the 2 touchdowns, they convert. It makes it a 6-point game, down 32-38. The Bengals, they have 8 minutes of clock to kill. They need to run the ball. And instead of running the ball, I mean, obviously there are a lot of timeouts on the Jets side, but they go for throws. Incomplete on first down, incomplete on second down, sack on third down, and they end up giving the ball back. They lose 6 yards on the drive, they go 3 and out, and they give the ball back to the Jets, having only elapsed 1 minute of the clock. So the Jets, they regain possession at 6:50 on the clock. They are only down 6 points. So if they get a touchdown, they take the lead. 9 plays, 58 yards, 4 minutes and 56 seconds later, the Jets find themselves at the top of this game. Now, they enter the fourth quarter down 15. Under the 2-minute warning, they are now up. Crazy. For the first time in this game, we actually think, oh my goodness, the Jets, are they going to win a game? Because for majority, it did not look like they were even close to competing. Now it's a real possibility. 2-minute drill for Joe Flacco and company. Are they going to do it? Are they going to get the lead back like they did against the Steelers? Or are the Jets actually going to win a game in 2025? We see Joe Flacco and the Bengals take over. They pick up the first couple of first downs pretty easily, and then they get stuck. 1st and 10 at their own 44-yard line. Joe Flacco passes incomplete for Yoshi Voss. Then 2nd and 10. They run throws it to Jamar Chase. And I think this was the one where, like, it hit the ground. I don't fully know. I think it was, I might be thinking of a different play, but he, like, threw it to Jamar's hands, and then Jamar kind of, like, dropped it, and then tried to pick it back up. Something funny like that. And now it's 4th and 9. At their own 45, 32 seconds left. They just need to get to field goal range, but if they don't pick up the first down, game's going to be over. And so Flacco delivers the ball up the middle of the field to Yoshi Voss, but he can't haul it in. Like, the pass was there. The pass was definitely there, and it was at the line to gain, but he doesn't come down with it. And the Jets win it. They win their first game of the NFL season after benching and then unbenching Justin Fields after going down 15 points. No Garrett Wilson in this game. I don't think any Sauce Gardner in this game. Crazy. Just a crazy performance. 23 points from the Jets in the fourth quarter to pull off this miracle comeback. Yeah, just like, this was a fun game. I think this one was the most fun out of all the games this week by far. Just in terms of, like, especially in the fourth quarter and the third quarter. Second half, it was just touchdown, 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 back and forth. Everyone was scoring until all of a sudden the Bengals could not. And yeah, final stats. I mean, Joe Flacco and company, they played their tails off. I don't think there's any way that you could blame this loss on them. Flacco at 40 years old and still went out there slugging the ball all over. He played maybe not quite as well as he did against the Steelers, but damn near close. Fields, he finished 21 of 32 for 244 yards passing, 1 touchdown. Brees Hall, great day from him. 18 carries, 133 yards, 2 touchdowns. Tyler Johnson, 3 catches for 64 yards and a touchdown. And then Flacco, he went 21 of 34, 223 yards and 2 touchdowns. Samaje Perine, very efficient day on the ground, 9 carries for 94 yards and a TD. And Jamar Chase, 12 catches for 91 yards. So, like, Bengals offense, they showed up. They did what they were supposed to do. I think you can only really blame the Bengals defense on this. The fact that you let a 0-6, 0-7 team go score 39 points on you. That is bad. That is laughably, embarrassingly bad. And yeah, the rush. Both teams rushing in this game. Absolutely prolific. 254 yards rushing for the Jets. 181 for the Bengals. The Jets were averaging 6.9 yards per rush, and the Bengals were averaging 7.9. So just anyone was having their way. It was insanity. What was it? 500 yards of offense. Yeah, 502 total yards of offense from the Jets. This coming after 2 weeks in a row where Justin Fields finished the game with like 45 yards passing. And in one of those 2 games, they even had Garrett Wilson, their best offensive player. So just go figure, man. Like, it does not make sense. But I'm glad that it happened. I'm glad that we're not going to see an 0-16 season from the Jets. I never really thought they were that bad to go 0-16. So it's good that they were finally able to get in the win column. We'll see what they choose to do at quarterback. I think Fields has earned the right to continue being the starter after this one. But yeah, great win for the Jets fans. They needed that. So after that, we really can speed through the rest of these because they're all more or less blowouts. So first up, we're gonna have the Miami Dolphins dominating the Atlanta Falcons in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. The Dolphins win 34-10. What happened? Well, I can tell you what happened. The Falcons last second announced that Kirk Cousins is going to be playing and that Drake London is not going to be playing. I personally felt like I was misled by all of the injury reports and injury announcements heading into week 8. I heard that Lamar was going to be back. He was not. I heard that Brock Purdy was going to be back. He was not. Where did this Michael Penix injury come from? I don't know. especially in the quarterback department, where I was led to believe one thing on Thursday, and by the time we actually hit Sunday, like a spontaneous injury, they're not going to play, or report was wrong, they're actually not ready for week 8. So I was very surprised, very caught off guard, especially because I had Drake London in one of my fantasy teams, so luckily I woke up early enough to swap him out. But yeah, so we see Kirk Cousins playing this game, and we see why Kirk Cousins is not really on a team, starting for a team anymore, because he did not play well. We had in this game Tua turning back the clock to 2 years ago, having his best game of the season. He goes 20 of 26 for 4 touchdowns, complete day and night performance from what he had last week against the Browns. Last week he had 3 interceptions, no touchdowns, 100 yards. Now, he was lighting it up. He looked good. I don't know. Weird to say. After that, Devon Achane, 18 carries, turned into 67 yards. Not the most efficient, but he did have a touchdown grab in this game as well. Ollie Gordon, I want to see how much he ended up getting. I felt like I saw a lot of clips of Ollie Gordon getting involved. Yeah, 10 carries for 46 yards, and he had a touchdown grab for 20 yards. He was pretty active today of all days. And then in the receiving game, Jalen Waddle, 5 catches for 99 yards and a touchdown. And that touchdown catch and run was blazingly fast. He got it, I think, on like a slant route. He started on the left side of the field, cut across the middle, and by the time the ball was in his hands, he just sped to the right corner and into the end zone. No one even had a chance of grabbing him. As for the Falcons, Kirk Cousins, 21 of 31 for 173. Bijan, he had 9 carries for just 25 yards, horrible day. And then Kyle Pitts, he was the leading receiver with 9 catches for 59 yards. And yeah, not much going right for the Falcons. They go 2 of 11 on 3rd down, 2 of 4 on 4th down. Not much success running the ball or passing the ball. 168 yards passing, but only 45 yards rushing. 2.6 yards per rushing attempt. Yeah, they go 1 of 2 in the red zone. And yeah, they lose a fumble. 8 penalties. Just honestly worse than Dolphins in every single way in this game. That's why they lose by so much. Yeah, yikes. I don't know, the Falcons. I genuinely don't know how to assess their season, because it's like every time they do something good, they follow it up with something so incredibly painstakingly bad. They sit at 3-4, and in this season, you've lost by 30-0 to the Panthers, and you've lost 34-10 to the Dolphins, and these are, at the time that you play them, these are 2 of the worst teams in the league. But you also beat the Bills, who are one of the best teams in the league. So I don't get it. I don't know what they're doing. They're so unpredictable. And obviously you're hurt this week, so it's not like a fair assessment, but that doesn't explain the defense. Like, why did the defense just cave in on itself? I don't know. And for the Dolphins, to Mike McDaniel, you bought yourself like 2 more weeks. Like, you're good for another 2 weeks at least. Congratulations. After that, we get a matchup between the Cleveland Browns and the New England Patriots. Patriots finally playing at home after a significant road stretch, and the Patriots walk away, or stay at home victorious in this game, winning 32-13. They climb to a record of 6-2, and the Browns fall 2-6. I don't know if you guys saw, but in the week leading up to this matchup, there was this clip of Christian Gonzalez, and he was asked, like, how do you guys feel about playing Dylan Gabriel this week? And he gave like a semi-PR response. He said like, oh yeah, we're looking forward to playing the Browns. Looking forward to like forcing the ball out of his hands. But the entire time he spoke, he just had like the biggest grin on his face, as if they knew that they were just gonna have a day picking him off, and they did. Gonzalez himself didn't come down with any of the interceptions, but I think he had one pass batted, and he did a really good job on Judy. Judy ended up finishing this game with 0 catches for 0 yards. Yeah, 2 targets, 0 catches, 0 yards, and they were going back and forth, I think a little bit close to the end of the game. So, shout out to Christian Gonzalez. As for the rest of the game, the stats by the Browns, I mean, this was actually a close game in the first quarter. The Browns started off with the lead. It was very similar to the Tennessee Titans game, I'd say, where Cleveland got out to a good start. The Patriots trailed for a bit, and it wasn't that convincing in the first half. Like, the Patriots ended up being up 9-7, but that was on 3 field goals. Cleveland was the only team with a touchdown in the first half, and it was actually a really nice pass by Dylan Gabriel to Harold Fannin Jr. Patriots, they tried to blitz, they rushed an extra guy, and they basically left Fannin uncovered, and so Gabriel picked it up with his eyes pretty quickly, just lofted the ball out there for Fannin, and it's a perfect pass, so he waltzed in for a touchdown. Very similar to what happened last week with DK. And then, yeah, after that, it was just like an onslaught. The Patriots went on to score, at least 30 unanswered. I don't recall when exactly the Browns got their second touchdown. Yeah, it started off 7-0, then New England turned into a 30-7 game. After that, the Browns got their touchdown, made it 30-13, and then New England safety, so 32-13 final score. And this one, we saw Dylan Gabriel go 21 of 35 for 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. One of them was a spectacle. It was a one-handed interception grab by, who was it? I forget who exactly on the Patriots defense, but it was a really nice one. And then, yeah, leading rusher in this game, Malachi Corley, 1 carry for 31 yards. Quinshon Judkins was all bottled up. And then in the receiving game, Harold Fannin Jr. with a nice day, 6 catches, 62 yards, and a touchdown for the rookie tight end. As for the Patriots, Drake May, not as good as his game last week where he had 90+ completion percentage. He had 18 of 24 passing for 3 touchdowns, and he had an interception. And the interception was a decently bad one. But all in all, still a pretty great day for him, especially that last touchdown pass to Keyshawn Boutte. Oh my goodness. They've got quite the connection. I mean, the deep ball to Boutte, it works almost every single time. He's just so accurate. It's nice to see. In the rushing game for the Patriots, we finally see Tre'Veon Henderson with a positive day. He was so efficient. He had 6 carries for 60 yards for the longest time. He ends up with 10 carries for 75 yards. But as the Patriots are close to the goal line, he fumbles. Absolute backbreaker. And that's so frustrating. I mean, like, I'm really rooting for him, and he looked good efficiency-wise. This was his best day by far. But it's like, right as they're willing to start trusting him, critical mistake. I don't know. I don't know how it's gonna pan out after that, but even though it had no consequence on the game, it really bummed me out. And then in the receiving game, Mac Hollins with a crazy day, 7 catches for 89 yards. It was like anytime they needed to pick up a 3rd third down. I felt like Mac Hollins open on the sideline. They got it. So, yeah, Patriots end up winning big in this one again. They've scored 30 or more points so many times this season. I forget. I think it was week 2 against the Dolphins when they scored over 30. There was a graphic that read like this is the first time they've done it since 2022. And that was an unreal feeling. And now it's like a weekly occurrence. It's pretty amazing. What a year. What a time. Though the Browns don't get the win, we do have to give a special shout out to the wrecking ball on the defensive line. And I'm talking about Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett setting a franchise record for both the Browns and the Patriots with 5 sacks on the day. I definitely did not make Drake May's life easy in this game. It was all over him, covering him like a blanket. And yeah, you kinda, on one hand I feel for Myles Garrett because he had like a very valid crash out at the end of this game. He was on the sideline and he slammed his helmet down because like, yes, you get 5 sacks in a single day. I think he was like one of 5 or 6 players in NFL history to accomplish something like that, and it's a very impressive feat. But you can't even like take home the game ball and be happy about it because you guys got blown out. So like, he's doing his part. He's doing everything he can to try and help them, but the team is just awful. So he's stuck being like that one meme, you know, like, I don't know, Aston Martin in a dump. I don't know what kind of car it is, but that's what he is. But at the same time, I don't really feel bad for him because he did sign that extension to become the highest paid non-quarterback. Like, he knew this was the path he was going down. He wasn't trying to win games. He wasn't trying to have any success. He was just going for the bag. So sometimes you go for the bag, and that means you're going to lose a lot of games in your career. And that is the route that he chose to be. So credit to him for staying loyal, but you got paid. You knew this was going to happen. Sucks to suck. I'm sorry. Anywho, after that, we move into the rematch, the second match between the New York Giants and the Philadelphia Eagles this season. We saw this 2 weeks ago on Thursday Night Football with the Giants getting the big victory over the Eagles. This time, the Eagles get their lick back. 38-20 win over the Giants at home. Saquon didn't play too well the last game. Hasn't been playing that well this year. But he does get his revenge in this matchup. He has a great day. His best day of the year, I want to say. He ends up going 14 carries for 150 yards, 1 touchdown, and he also has 4 catches for 24 yards and a touchdown. Big day for Saquon against his old team. The other team's running back, terrible news for the New York Giants. Everyone living for this revitalization they've been having between Jackson Dart and Cam Skattebo. With Skattebo on a tough looking run, he dislocates his ankle and he will be out for, I don't know how long the timeline is. Dislocated ankle, probably not as bad as just broken, but it depends on the ligaments and all of that. So he is out for the foreseeable future, and yeah, wishing him a speedy recovery. In this game, we see Jackson Dart. He ends up finishing 14 of 24 for 193 yards and a touchdown. We also have Tyrone Tracy Jr. leading the way for the backfield. He finishes with 10 carries for 39 yards. And Wan'Dale Robinson, the leading receiver, with 3 catches for 48 yards. There was actually a play by Darius Slayton. He had 2 catches for 26 yards. He had this huge touchdown grab that was, I don't know, in the 3rd or 4th quarter, but it was negated by a penalty. I think it was was an offensive pass interference penalty for a push off. And the funny thing was that he did the push off and he didn't really get any separation off of it. It seemed like it was a failed push off. They threw the flag. There was more hand fighting down the field, and then he kind of just got open. There was a lot of contact. I think it was a fine call, but the actual push off itself that he got called for, I think it didn't work at all. So it was funny. But yeah, in terms of the Eagles, we saw Jalen Hurts. He had 15 of 20 passing for 179 yards and 4 touchdowns. Very effective day through the air. No A.J. Brown in this one. Oh, he was our other surprise holdout or injury in this week. I had no idea A.J. Brown even got hurt last week, so him not playing was a bit surprising. We already went over Saquon. Our final review candidate was Devontae Smith Jr. He had 6 catches for 84 yards. Also worth noting that Saquon did leave this game in the third quarter with a injury. I think it was a leg injury. I'm not too certain what part, but he was out. And they managed to pull it through without him. Tank Bigsby did a fairly nice job filling in. He had a big run in the first half, and then he had a big run in the second half with Saquon out. How much did he end up getting? 9 rushes for 104 yards. Yeah, he was pretty effective. So if Saquon does miss any time, Tank Bigsby is the man to target. And Dallas Goedert, another 2 touchdown day for him. I feel like every other game, Dallas Goedert has 2 touchdowns, so he's probably up there in the rankings for most touchdowns scored this year. So yeah. After that, we have probably our worst blowout of the day, between the Buffalo Bills and the Carolina Panthers, with the Bills absolutely ruining the Panthers. The Canthers, yeah, that's what we should have called them today, because they couldn't do anything. But ruining the Panthers' day with Andy Dalton in at quarterback. One of the worst quarterback performances I feel like I've seen in a minute. Andy Dalton just looking flustered out there, making bad play after bad play. He would take horrible sacks. They had a chance to get some points on the board in the first half. I think as time was expiring, they could have gone for a field goal. They were trying to get a touchdown, and instead they ended up with neither, because on, third down, Andy Dalton took a sack, and they were already out of timeouts, and they tried to run Fitzgerald out there, but they didn't have the time, so they end up with no touchdown. They end up with no field goal, and Dalton had all the time in the world to just throw it away. So just kind of a pathetic showing from him, really. There's no defending it. He had a really bad fumble. He had a really bad pick. He had that blunder of a play. Yeah, it was just way worse than I was expecting. The Bills, on the other hand, James Cook. It was a James Cook game through and through. Josh Allen, he went 12 of 19 for 163 yards and a touchdown. They didn't really need him to do all that much. They were just running the ball and having a lot of success. James Cook had 19 carries for 216 yards and 2 touchdowns on this day. And Khalil Shakir had 6 catches for 88 yards and 1 touchdown. Yeah, speaking of Andy Dalton's bad performance, 16 of 24 passing for 175 yards. Not bad yardage, but 1 interception, 1 fumble. We also had Rico Dowdle being the lead back in this backfield, 8 carries for 54 yards. Really speaking, once it got to the first 3 minutes of the third quarter, I was hoping that they would just take Andy Dalton out of the game and have Rico Dowdle play quarterback, just run it up the middle every time, see what happens. But they didn't opt to do that. And then Royal McMillan, pretty good game for him, 7 catches for 99 yards, pretty productive in Bryce Young's absence. And yeah, not much pretty to look at if you're a Panthers fan. Like, this is how games used to look for them in the last 3 weeks in a row. They were much better, but yeah, desperately. I can't believe I'm saying it, but like, you desperately need Bryce Young back because you guys look so much worse when he is not in. It's pretty insane. I think he's won himself the starting gig for quite a bit longer with this contrast of how they were doing with him in the last 3 weeks and how they just looked with Andy Dalton. After that, we get a matchup between the Chicago Bears and the Baltimore Ravens. And when I was looking at this matchup, I made my predictions based on the fact that Lamar Jackson was supposed to be playing quarterback for the Ravens once again, not Tyler Snoop Huntley. So I picked the Ravens to beat the Bears. And so when I tuned into the game and I saw Tyler Huntley playing, I was like, oh no, what have I done? And then they won anyway. So I guess it was meant to be. Ravens saving their 5% chance that they might make the playoffs this year with a really good game from Tyler Huntley and company. We had just the Bears looking like their old previous selves. They couldn't do much today. I don't know what exactly it was. I think really it was the one turnover in the second half. It was I think it was a interception. Yeah. First quarter, the Bears led 6-0. The Ravens got some points on the board, and yeah, by the time we hit halftime, it was 10-6. The Bears, right before the half, they had a 58-yarder, and it was no good. So potentially it could have been just a 1-point game going into the half. Then Baltimore got 2 more field goals in the third quarter. Fourth quarter opened up, and the Bears got a touchdown, made it 13-16. Baltimore punted, and then the Bears, yeah, they had the ball at their own 2-yard line, and Caleb Williams threw an interception, and that really ruined the game for them. Like, they had a shot before, but they had no shot once that happened. Game over, essentially. Took 2 plays, 9 yards for the Ravens to score a touchdown. Bears on their next drive, they could only muster a field goal, and then the Ravens is scoring another touchdown. So, yeah, when it mattered most in the fourth quarter, the Ravens scored 14 points. Bears defense did not show up. It was kicked off by an offensive error, but it really was the defense that just couldn't do anything to stop the Ravens offense in the fourth quarter when they really needed it. In this game, Caleb Williams ends up finishing 25 of 38 for 285 yards and an interception. Honestly, he looked pretty good for most of the game, I would say. The way that he was able to find Roma Dunze and some of his receivers, I wouldn't say this was that bad of a game for Williams, aside from that interception. On the ground, DeAndre Swift, he had 11 carries for 45 yards and a touchdown. And Roma Dunze, big day from him, 7 catches for 114 yards. And then for Tyler Huntley, 17 of 22 passing for 186 yards and 1 touchdown. We saw Derrick Henry get 21 carries, turn that into 71 yards. Not the most efficient, but he did also get 2 touchdowns. And then we had Zay Flowers with 7 catches for 63 yards. And the Ravens moved to 2-5. Bears fall to 4-3. Ravens, their next stretch of games is very winnable. They have 5 games in a row where I think their hardest opponent is the Bengals. So if they get Lamar back next week, I don't think it's all that crazy for us to see the Ravens get into a position where they're like 6-6 or 7-5. Like, just looking at their schedule, it's possible. Now, the last 5 games, it's not easy. They play the Steelers twice. I think they play the Patriots, and they have one other team that's quite solid. They do also have the Bengals once again, but I don't know. I don't think it's like by any means a guarantee that they can make a playoffs, but I think 5 weeks from now, we could see them be in the position of being the playoff hunt once again, which is weird to think about, but it also depends, like, how idiotically they play over the next month. Anywho, after that, we get a matchup between the 49ers and the Texans, where the Texans get their third win of the year. They win 26-15 over the 49ers. Texans, they got it going early. 16 points in the first half for them, while San Francisco was only able to get 7. That too, they were nearly held scoreless the entire first half. It was only with, 58 seconds left in the first half that San Francisco somehow constructed a drive that turned into a touchdown pass to get on the board. And then in the third quarter, it was the Texans who scored first, extended their lead to 23-7. 49ers down 16 points. They get their touchdown, and they go for 2, and they convert. So, it's now just an 8-point game heading into the fourth. Texans scored a field goal, made it a 11-point lead, and that was it. 49ers went 3 and out. Texans punted. 49ers, in theory, had 4 minutes. They got the ball back with 4 minutes left. They're down 11. It's pretty much like miracle mode at that point, and they did not get a miracle. They threw a pick, and then they turned it over on downs. So, yeah, not a great day offensively for them. I think Mac Jones, he has extended his day for a little bit. It was fun to say, he's 1/10 of Brock Purdy's price, but he plays 90% as well, at least in those first couple games. But now that's not the case. It's the third straight game where he hasn't crossed 200 yards passing. He's thrown a pick, I think, in all 3 games. And yeah, 2 touchdowns, but I think it's time for Purdy to come back. They need him. Christian McCaffrey really bottled up on the day. 8 carries for 25 yards. Couldn't do that much through the air as he usually is able to. Juwan Jennings, he had 4 catches for 45 yards. CJ Stroud, though, he had a pretty nice day. He had 30 of 39 passes completed for 318 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. For the running backs, we had Woody Marks lead the way with 11 carries for 62 yards. And in the receiver category, we had Xavier Hutchinson leading the way with 5 catches for 69 yards and a touchdown. 2 very impressive catches from Hutchinson on the day. One in particular that I remember being in the middle of the field. It was just a tough catch for him. And yeah, Texans, kind of, a much needed win for them. They're right there with the Ravens in that category of if you turn everything around right now, maybe it's possible. I haven't taken a look at their schedule as much because I don't know, they're not really injured, they're more just bad. Yes, the Ravens were not doing that well when Lamar went down, but at the same time, they had a very clear reason why they lost games after that, being the injury, whereas the Texans in a game like last week, no, they look pathetic and they're at full strength. So I would say, honestly, the Ravens have a better chance of climbing back into it than the Texans do, but anything can happen. Anyway, after that, we get our next game, which was our first game of the afternoon slate. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers beating the Saints 23-3. Buccaneers causing Spencer Rattler to play so badly that he actually got benched for Tyler Shook. Mayfield not having the best of days. His receiving core so battered and bruised and injured that he only goes 15 of 24 for 152 yards. Sean Tucker filling in for the injured Bucky Irving. He has 12 carries for 42 yards and a touchdown. And Tez Johnson, leading receiver for the Bucks, even with Emeka Egbuka back, he has 5 catches for 43 yards. And for the Saints, Spencer Rattler, 15 of 21 passing for 136 yards and 1 interception and a fumble. Alvin Kamara, Kendre Miller has been ruled out for the rest of the year. He is going to see a bulk of the work, but he's just not good anymore. 6 carries for 21 yards. And Rashid Shaheed has 9 catches for 75 yards. Pretty effective day for him. Tyler Shough, he finished with, 17 of 30 passing for 128 yards and an interception. They were lined up right by the goal line to end this game, trying to get Shough into a rhythm, see if he could score at all before the game ended, and he could not. The game ended on, a sack. Yeah, Shough sacked for -8 yards, and they lost the game. I mean, they were going to lose either way, but they were seeing if they had something. It was really funny. I don't know if I've ever heard an announcer watch a team like this, but they bench Rattler, and the announcer was going off on Shough, where they're like, yeah, you put in this guy, and you see how he does in the second half, and I haven't seen a single thing that makes it look like Shough should be the starter. If anything, I just think, oh, we saw. It wasn't that, I'm paraphrasing, but he said, Rattler didn't play well, and Shough played just as bad, so they're not making any improvements by starting Shough. Yeah, that was kind of profound, and that's kind of how I feel about it. I don't have any faith in Tyler Shough or Spencer Rattler. They need a quarterback, but just funny that he wasn't even advocating for Shough to get more of a chance. He was like, nah, this guy's trash. And he is. So I think that about does it for this game. Let us move on to the next afternoon game. A massive victory by the Denver Broncos over the Dallas Cowboys. They win 44-24 in Denver. Dak Prescott, what happened, man? Last 3 weeks in a row, he was on fire. Multiple 3 touchdowns in a game, 0 interceptions. First guy to do that in 3 straight games in a while. And it was the exact opposite. He was playing like last week's Tua out there. All of the gotta have it moments. He throws a pick. It was one right before the half. They were down, 17 points. He could have turned it into a 10-point game. Yeah, they were down 27-10. They got the ball and deep down the middle targeting Jake Ferguson, just threw it straight to the safety. And so they couldn't get any field goal. They couldn't get any touchdown. They just went into half. And then later on, Dallas starting to get back into it a little bit. Not really. Not really in the slightest. They're still down, 20 points. Yeah, they're down 20 with 12 minutes and 48 seconds left. And they're trying to do something, but he gets intercepted again. It was cooked. It really was cooked. The Cowboys, not a nice day for their defense. No defense showing up offensively. They're usually a lot better than this, but the turnovers held them back. And after the second interception, that's when they benched Dak, or not benched him, but they just took him out of the game because they knew they weren't going to win anymore. Started playing Joe Milton, and he had a pretty nice touchdown throw. So at least someone threw a touchdown for the Cowboys. Yeah. Javonte Williams' revenge game. He had 13 carries for 41 yards and 2 touchdowns. And George Pickens, the best receiver for the Cowboys, he had 7 catches for 78 yards. Jake Ferguson, by the way, 0 catches on the day. He is the #1 tight end in the league at the moment in terms of yards and touchdown. maybe yards and catches, not touchdowns. I think Goddard has him in that category, but nowhere to be found today. They did a great job eliminating him. And then for the Broncos, Bo Nix, 19 of 29 passing for 247 yards and 4 touchdowns. Also started the game off on the wrong foot, showing interception immediately, which could have been costly for the Broncos, but it was not. J.K. Dobbins, 15 carries for 111 yards. Troy Franklin with a big day, 6 catches for 89 yards and 2 touchdowns. And yeah, Broncos just zipping around the field. They were on fire, 4 of 5 from the red zone. Only 1 turnover to the 2 of the Cowboys. Still, deep ball was not that great from Bo Nix. There were a couple of throws where I feel like he could have done better, but hard to complain on a 4 touchdown day. And yeah, Broncos, they look good. I mean, 6-2, they are riding high at the top of this AFC West. They'll continue to be at the top for another week as the Chiefs play tomorrow, and they can only get to a best record of 5-3. And the Cowboys, this has been their season, right around 500. They have a good game, then they have a not so good game. All depends on who they're playing next. Like, they'll probably get back to scoring 30 and letting 28, but the defense just allowed way too much today. After that, we have our penultimate game, our second last game, being the Titans versus the Colts. Blowout victory by the Colts here. They win 38-14. Jonathan Taylor had the chance to make history. All he needed to do was get 3 rushing touchdowns, and he would have been able to be the first player in NFL history to have 3 rushing touchdowns against the same team in 3 straight matchups. So the last time he played the Titans, he had 3 touchdowns, and the time before that, he played the Titans, he had 3 touchdowns. So he was chasing history, and he did have 3 touchdowns, but he had 2 rushing touchdowns, and the last one was Daniel Jones kind of like popping it forward with 2 hands, and they ended up calling it a pass, so it didn't count. Very unfortunate. Jones, he ends up finishing the day 21 of 29 for 272 and 3 touchdowns. Jonathan Taylor, he had 12 carries for 153 yards and the 2 touchdowns. Michael Pittman Jr. with 8 catches for 95 yards and a touchdown. And for Cam Ward, no Calvin Ridley in this game. I don't know if you guys seen Calvin Ridley. They have him on horse blinders. I got this video about how they were giving him these goggles to limit his peripheral vision so that he can do a better job of focusing on catching the ball because he has the most drops in the NFL this year. And they're basically limiting his peripheral vision so that he gets better at just locating the ball, pinpointing it, and catching it. And they're training him to not anticipate the hit. They're putting horse blinders on him so that he stops paying attention to people that are gonna absolutely blow him up when he catches the ball. It's very interesting. In the video, they say that Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson used this in college. So, if that's the case, then he sometimes does produce a nice wide receiver, but at the same time, wild strategy. Let's see if it pays off. Anywho, he wasn't playing today, so for the skills players for the Titans, we had Tajay Spears, 9 carries for 59 yards and a touchdown, and Kamari DK with 7 catches for 93 yards. Yeah, not particularly a close game at any point. Indianapolis going out 17-7 in the first half itself. I guess at one point it was 10-7, but that was at the very beginning of the second quarter. And yeah, it only got worse than it became. Yeah, it was 7-10, and then it was 7-38. So rough day for the Titans. The Titans in for a lot of rough days. They're they're not looking that good. They're also a little bit injured. It'll be a while. The Colts, on the other hand, 7-1. They look like the best team in football. I don't know what else we can really say about them. Yeah, they're just elite on offense. After that, we get to our last game of the day. This was the Green Bay Packers versus the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Aaron Rodgers revenge game that I was looking forward to seeing. And it was not a good revenge game, not at all. Jordan Love completely outplayed him. I was hoping that Rodgers would get his revenge, that we would see him go off for a great game like he did last week against the Bengals. And in the first half, he did fine. What was it? They were up 16-7 in the first half. They had the lead. They were totally capable of winning this game. Where was the first? I thought they had 2 turnovers in the second half. I know the second one was like at the very end of the game when they're already out of it, but I could have sworn they had a first turnover. Because all I'm seeing is punt, field goal, punt, ball. But I could have sworn maybe it got overturned. I don't know. It was a tale of two halves for the Steelers. They looked good in the first half. They looked alright in the first half, but their defense looked good. And in the second half, they just had no defense. Jordan Love set a franchise record for, or maybe, I don't know if it's a franchise record or not, but he had 20 straight completions in this game, which was something that Aaron Rodgers had not done, and it hadn't been done since like Bart Starr. So doing that on the day that you're playing against Aaron Rodgers, disrespectful. But yeah, man, Jordan Love looked good. He looked really good. He was sliding it up, throwing it, especially to Tucker Kraft. He looked exceptional. Finished the day 29 of 37 for 360 yards and 3 touchdowns. Emmanuel Wilson had 11 carries for 61 yards, leading the backfield for Green Bay. And Tucker Kraft with another outstanding day, 7 catches for 143 yards and 2 touchdowns. We also saw Christian Watson return to the field for the first time this year. As for Rodgers, he went 24 of 36 for 219 yards. I do kind of feel bad because there were quite a few passes that he threw that people just couldn't come down with them. And he just looked pissed. Like, had Jonnu Smith 2-point conversion at the end of the game in his hands. Another ball to Jonnu Smith on like 3rd and 5 towards the end of the game, or 4th and 5. It was probably 3rd and 5. In one of his hands, but he couldn't haul it in. I want to say at least one more pass where like it was right there and they just couldn't do it. I could have sworn there was a second turnover. There was a point in the game where it felt like the Steelers, they had the lead, they had the opportunity to do a bit more, and then they turned it over, and the game just like completely got away from them at that point. But I guess I hallucinated it. Maybe they just were bad in the second half. I don't know. And yeah, the Packers, they didn't look good in the first half, but much better in the second half. They just, great recalibration, scoring 28 of their 35 points in the second half, 21 of those points in the last quarter. It was just lights out for Jordan Love once he got it going. Yeah, Packers 5-1-1. They look good again. There's a little bit of a slip, but they look good. Steelers, I don't know what's up. Their defense, way too wishy-washy. Like, you guys have allowed 30 points in far too many games this season. Did it week 1 against the Jets, week 2 against the Seahawks, did it again last week, did it again this week. It's looking like a fraudulent run. Like, you guys are 4-3. offense, not always sharp. And the defense, if you can't rely on it, this team, I don't know. I don't know that I really feel them. You're at 4-3 right now. But someone could sneak up, not the Browns. The Bengals, they would have to play really well. They would need their defense to start playing well again. And the Ravens, I don't know if I'm willing to count them completely out. Like, let's see what the Steelers' record looks like over the next, schedule. Oh my goodness. Is this their upcoming schedule? Okay, well, in the next 5 weeks, the Steelers have the Colts, the Chargers, the Bengals, the Bears, and the Bills. Now, the Bengals, are they going to lose to them a second time? Probably not. The Bears are the Bears, so Aaron Rodgers does own them. Let's say that they get both of those. The Chargers, the Colts, and the Bills, those are all very losable games. So let's say you go 3-2 over this next stretch of games. You are now at 7-7. The Ravens, wait, that can't be right. 7-5. You're at 7-5, and the Ravens will also be either 6-6 or 7-5 based on their schedule, and then you play the Ravens in that 6th game. So, assuming that Baltimore goes 4-1, reasonably 4-1 over their next stretch of games, which is pretty easy, and then you go 3-2. If you lose that matchup, you would be 7-6. They would be 7-6. They would take the division from you. So the Steelers are kind of in jeopardy. And their next games after that, Dolphins, Lions, Browns, Ravens. 2 very easy teams. But the Lions and the Ravens. It's not over, guys. It's not over. Let's see. I mean, we know that the Steelers have to get their 9 wins. They have to get in the winning column. They have to, maybe, just maybe, make the playoffs. They don't have to win a playoff game, though. The Ravens could still have this division. Let's see how it goes. Anyway, that is all for you guys tonight. Thank you for watching. If you enjoy content like this, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll be putting out more videos as the weeks progress. And yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you